Welcome to the Under the Hat podcast,
the show where we talk about everything and anything that is top of mind in education.
The goal is to provide meaningful conversations to what is currently happening in our classrooms.
Stories, pains,
moments of success.
We want to hear it all.
Friends, welcome back to another episode of Under the Hat. It is a beautiful Saturday. I'm your host, or one of your hosts, Steve Martinez, and we're also joined and have our awesome and other amazing co-host, Sophie Young. Sophie, how are you?
I am fabulous, Steve. I feel like you were struggling there a little bit, but it's okay.
A little bit. It's 10 a.m. for me, so I'm trying to figure life out. But how?
Do you have your coffee? Are you ready?
Yeah, like I'm only on my second cup, so I certainly need to be leveling that up maybe much earlier in the morning. But yeah, so Sophie, we do, and we're not going to talk about it just yet because we posted on this earlier in the week.
Because we have exciting news.
We do have exciting news, and we're definitely going to dive into that. Any kind of like hints that you can give before we move on? Please don't say it's a third host. Please don't say it's a third host. I don't know if I can handle that.
No, definitely not. The show is going to get a little bit literal.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Like we're only going to be talking about hats? Is that what you mean?
Maybe.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, friends,
anyways.
Anyways, friends, we have don't worry, like if you're like for some reason like early mimosas, like I don't know what you all do what teachers do on the weekend, you are not seeing double, and we'll kind of talk about that. And Sophie does not see it, but we're joined by my good friend, sometimes twin, Scott Nunes. Mr. Nunes Teach is in the house with us.
Hi, Scott. Welcome. Why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit about your education journey?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on. A whirlwind. I'll give you the quickest version I can because it's been wild. So I'm a former graphic designer turned teacher, turned tech coach, turned I don't know what, but helped build a virtual school during the pandemic and found myself using a bunch of tools. And now I support one tool and I love it. So I'm a district engagement advocate with Canva, big fancy title. Just basically means I'm here to bring Canva to your school district. So if you're in North America, I'm your guy, especially if your school district is of size. So that's my target market professionally now. But on the side, I love coaching folks, love helping folks out. Slide into my DMs, let me know what's going on. Happy to help, happy to share how I've gone to where I am now and things to look out for, because there's tons of things I would have done differently. And I'm happy to pass on that wisdom to your listeners or anyone else out there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I, Scott, like you and I have been friends for a while, and kind of just seeing your journey, right? Like from the classroom to that coach role. I know you did a lot of work in that space. What are some, I guess, like maybe some tips, suggestions for transitions? Because we're starting to see more and more transitions take place, and I do know that you have a wealth of knowledge and experience around that.
Yeah, I would say hit the ground running and be who you are. Be your authentic self, right? The things you got hired for, bring those to the table. But when you're joining a new role, new organization, be quiet too. Listen, it's kind of like when you're starting off in education and you want to fly under the radar. That'd be my advice. That's not me, but that's something I've learned. And so I would play it safer right now. Of course, do your best work, but just learn the business. It's tricky being on this side, and it's very complex. And you're not just dealing with educators. Educators, I say, have the biggest hearts. They really do. And that's why I can't get out of education. I just love, love, love it because educators are amazing and give so much of themselves. Well, on this side, there are some different things that come into play. And so while these folks have big hearts, they have different dreams, goals, and ambitions, and they don't necessarily always align with the way that teachers do things. And so it's important to learn the business acumen, this ed tech acumen first, then start weaving in those passion projects, integrate more of yourself so you can, be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. I think the be quiet is probably good advice. I often kind of feel like sometimes like I'm just thinking in my own head, like you have to have the balance of like being quiet and observing and learning, but also you do want to contribute at a certain level, like in those early stages, right? But you also don't want that to turn into like a yes man or a yes woman, if I can, if I can say it that way, like making sure that, when you fundamentally, genuinely see something that needs to be addressed, especially if it's impacting you, you should speak up. But like there's a balance to be had there, right?
100%. And it's going to be different for every situation. There's definitely no black and white there. And so you got to fill it out. I would say ASAP, get yourself a good mentor in the field. I'm so blessed to have done that in education. It's been a little trickier on this side. I would say I had some really good EdTech mentors, but not ones doing my particular role. And so I really had to learn a lot on my own, and that's trickier. You can quickly upskill if you find yourself a good mentor, seek them out on LinkedIn. I would say on this side of the business, definitely LinkedIn is the place to find those people. Whereas you could do Facebook, TikTok, all the other things for education. But if you're coming over to the ed tech side, you're working for a company, you got to be on LinkedIn.
Could we, and I'm also pointing this question to Sophie, with her skill set here, but like, can we take a moment and talk about like norms that we should have on LinkedIn? So here's what I mean. Someone starts following me, right? Is that the right term on LinkedIn? Is it follow?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They do follow, and then they also try to connect, which is like a step up.
Okay. Okay. See, this is, yeah. Okay. So with all that being said, what I see, especially when the company you work for posts a new job, they straight up like, I've never seen these people. They didn't bother to check out my show. They didn't bother to like learn from me, like whatever. And no shade to anyone, but like they do the follow or the connect, and then all of a sudden like fire, they're in my DMs. And it's not just that, it's also like general services. Like I get hit up, Sophie, like you never see this, but I get hit up a lot with the under the hat profile on be like, hey, basically telling me, hey Steve, your show's not very good, but pay me money and I'll make it better. Like it's low key like that. I'm like, don't even try to like come at me unless like you follow me or get to know what I'm doing for longer than 2 seconds, it feels like, right? I don't know if Sophie, have you, what's your experience with that?
Yes, our the company that we work for, that Steve and I work for, has recently posted a job, and we're now finally at the point where we're wrapping up interviews and stuff. But it feels like the last month has been, my LinkedIn has grown significantly because of a job post that I have no control over who gets hired. Um, so I just like shared the job post, and I now have probably doubled my LinkedIn connects and following. I have been getting HR companies in my DMs talking to me about protocols and how to get those things up and running. I have like educational webinar people come to me. So I'm not getting like solicited with the podcast because you manage that social. But I'm
Yeah.
getting solicited like as a hirer and as as a professional development provider. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. So the first one that came in, the first one that came into my DMs was very authentic in her response to me. And I was very authentic back. But then, like day 2, 3, 15, I was giving them template responses. I didn't want to leave anybody off the hook because that's just rude and not me. Like dangling there without a response. But I did. I had to have a template response. And I took like a day a week and responded to everybody because it was overwhelming the number of people that were like all up in my business. But I feel like my LinkedIn has a lot better content now because I have a more of a variety of people that obviously have common interests because they wanted basically my job. So it's not it's nice now. My LinkedIn's a little bit better. And it is weird though. It is weird when you start getting into LinkedIn not just to learn, but people are learning from you or they want something from you, which is definitely not my wheelhouse at all. Because I was a teacher and then I was a coach, and now I'm continuing to be a coach for a company. And then when you're like asking me to spend money and to make connections and to have my company buy your product, I'm like, y'all, you're barking up the wrong tree. Like,
Yeah. So I don't, Scott, like, do you like, what is your take on that? Like, how what's the best way to engage on LinkedIn? I guess why don't we start with that? Like, what do you think is the best way for folks to get on there, get connected, and really like move the needle? And I think you're still
you're
muted.
muted, Scott.
Thank you. You think in 2024 I would be a pro at this whole muting, unmuting thing, right? Guess not. Always something to learn. You and Sophie really have said it. Be authentic and show that. Like, don't just start sliding in the DMs and expect somebody to help you. First, build the relationship, build the rapport, build that network before you need it. So Eric Qualman talks about that. He has a book out now. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a big, bright book. And that's the way to go. Now, sometimes you're in a jam. Let's say you're out of work, right? Or you just can't take it. You're burnt out. You're at your breaking point. Okay, then maybe you speed things up, but kind of know who you're talking to. Do some research. Don't just look at the title. Come to them with something and then offer something. If you offer me something, if it's a cold email and it's of genuine value, like you've shown you've done some research, like, Scott, I can help you in this way, but I'd also like some help here, some mutual reciprocity. That's a good way to go. And I know sometimes we've been in a pinch, and I would say don't rush it. Trust your gut. Every time I've rushed it, it's been bad, and then you can miss out on some great people because you rushed that. I had that just this weekend. And it was a tough situation. I had to push the relationship quickly because of the nature of the work I do. And the person wasn't willing to hear me out because they didn't know me. I didn't, and at the same time, I couldn't take the time to build the rapport. It was like, I need an answer on this. I need it now. Unfortunately, there wasn't time to build that relationship. And I think it soured the potential relationship because I really like the work that person is doing. And so, like Aaliyah said, the former artist, get back up and try again. If that's the case, you got to give it some time, rebuild that a no now isn't a no forever either. You just maybe have to be more engaging. And if you're going with a large influencer, you better be commenting on their stuff. You better be active, maybe follow first before you do a connect. Show authentic engagement, not just because you want something. And then when that happens, oh, building that rapport is going to be so much easier.
I
Yeah.
want to follow up what you said about do some research first,
Mhm.
because I have had, like I said, like a ton of DMs since that job posting was happened, and some of them were just, I saw the posting, I would love to have the interview, and like that was that was it, that was the gist of their message to me, and I'm like, okay, somebody else is heading that first initial up, but yeah, okay, go. Um, but there was one in particular who did her research. She did. She came into my DMs and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I see you're from West Virginia. I grew up in West Virginia too, but I'm now living in this whatever state." And she was like, "I also see that you have autistic sons. I have an autistic son too. I would love to hear about any strategies that are working for you and your child." And I was like, "Holy hell, yes, you said the right things. Let's talk."
Yeah.
I was like, this is really great. Another one was like, "I'm also neurodiverse, and I see that you post about neurodiverseness in the workplace. How does she didn't even ask for the interview. She just asked, how is your workplace about accommodations and
Mm.
whatnot?" And I was like, "Oh, snap. Yes, you didn't even come in asking for that interview right away. You were just like trying to gain knowledge if this workplace was going to be a good spot for you." And I'm like, ha ha. So those people got more of the real me, and actual conversations, while the other ones were just like, "I'm so sorry for the delay. Someone else is heading up the initial interviews. If you would like to chat with me after that and you make it through, then let that person know and we'll get it arranged."
They got the template.
And I give Steve crap for this too. When I was on the podcast before I became the co-host, he sent me the template email reply.
Okay, so a few
I
things
was like,
about that.
dude.
Few things about that. One, there was no time. I'm not gonna crap. Like, I guess I could have made it super short. Be like, this by, because I know you very well. But yeah. Anyway, so Scott, I kind of, I really love the idea of like building that kind of relationship even before a job is posted.
Mhm.
Because like what that feels to me is like, as somebody that's on the hunt or maybe prospecting, it's more about like the conversation then is like, where do you want to work? Not necessarily the type of role, like maybe like culture first kind of mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can only speak for myself, but like I'm super lucky to work somewhere with a good culture, with feeling supported. There's a lot of love and compassion, and empathy there. And so and Scott, you and I have talked about this. Like, I just felt like I just got really lucky, um, with my journey. But um, I I do know that, not every place is a good fit for each person. So I
Yeah.
do love the idea of just like build those relationships first. Who cares if there's postings there within reason? Like you kind of said,
Yeah.
like if you're in a pinch, but like, be be just as critical as they are in terms of where you'd want to land.
Absolutely. 100% on that, to both of what you all said. And something I'll just add a quick note. I think it's really important, no matter who you are, to really make it clear that you love people and use things when you're sliding into DMs. It can feel like you're using people and it's the other way around. And that's going to earn you a negative reputation. I hear about it
Mm.
in influencer back channels. Oh, so and so hit me up and they just straight up did this, or they wanted to be on my show. Here's how they approached me. Then other people be like, oh, yeah, so and so just did that. And you can earn yourself a negative reputation quite quickly by doing things like that. So people do chat, even in a bigger edtech space. So keep that in mind too. A first impression can make a lasting impression.
Yeah. I feel the edtech space is, while it might seem large, it's still a pretty small world. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we all know each other. And even if we don't know each other, like, oh, I've never met this person, like, face to face, you know who they are.
Of you. Yeah.
Right.
They know
I've
of
seen
you.
you. I know of you. We've been at the same conferences. Like, you know, like you've
Yeah. Yeah. So Scott, you kind of mentioned you know, side hustles and
Yeah.
you know, kind of having fun with all that. And you know me, I love a side hustle. I'm like, yeah, let's talk more about that. But so what I mean, because you know, with besides your work at Canva, which I know is amazing, but like what are you working on the side?
Yeah, so a lot of speaking and consulting, not in the same area, but just in general, education things, and really talking about STEM, talking about
Mm,
AI, high level ways to structure plans, like what tech should you bring in, why and how, more from an ethical and a high level perspective. So not into the nitty gritty in terms of tools, but what plan do you need in place to really execute, and what should you be thinking about in terms of how you use it to bring out positive educational outcomes, with a strong focus on building strong leaders who can drive student engagement and student interest. That's where it's missed. And then secondarily, time savings, because time is money. So and that's for those at the top, right? For the teachers, time is time, and time is so important. You can't get it back. Um, Teachers are spending way too much time doing things that really don't make them feel great and don't drive learning outcomes. If we're being honest, like, folks are going to hate on me a little bit for that. And I'm sorry for that, but we're in many areas, we're failing our students. And so there's a real opportunity in this AI age. It's like the industrial revolution all over again, but through tech.
mm,
And there are some real opportunities to streamline those things that we don't need to be so hands-on about. Sure, we need to be authentic. We need to check those things like parent-teacher emails, but maybe you have like a general form. Maybe you have a GPT you've created. I do that because I'm a big softie. I take things personally sometimes. Like, my goal in life is to really just love everybody and to help people become the best version of themselves however I can. And so uh, I just absorb everything. And so having a GPT to help me when situations are a little tough is great. I can kind of put the outcomes I want, my role, and boom, I get something. And it is me, and I can tweak it if it's not right. I'm going to read it before I send it. But that's one of like 1,000 ways that I help folks speed things up and get their time back.
yeah. Time is such an important factor right now. Like so Scott, you know that I'm, you know, I have one of my side hustles is the work I do at CSU Stan, right? Just
Hmm.
you being in the area and knowing what's there, and what's not. But I had a conversation this semester with one of my students, an intern. So like not the student teacher route, like he's doing all the credential work, and this individual is like teaching full time. And so Scott, it's kind of like you and I, where it's not his first career, right?
Hmm.
So like second career, has had that life experience. And the conversation was, and because like for so long we've talked about, like, you know, how jaded our veterans get because of the extraness that is teaching.
Hmm.
This individual's in his first year, and he was straight like we had a debrief meeting from an observation. He was straight up like, I think I made a mistake.
Mhm.
He's like, this is
Wow.
way harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm like, as like part of me was like, well, yeah. But then the other part of me is like, the other part of me, like, it just makes me sad, right? Like, it breaks my
Yeah.
heart that like even the the people that are newer in the profession that like, you know, like me, Scott, like when I came on board with Enox, I was that energetic guy that was like trying a lot of different things, right? And I'm starting to worry now where like that energy is going to start to dwindle even more because of the issues that you're talking about.
Absolutely. So we need to adjust guidelines for that. We need to allow for those things, and really good admin will support newer educators like that. Like, okay, they'll kind of build like a framework, like a little safety playground. Okay, let's take risks, but let's not take a risk so big that it's going to sink the institution
Mm,
or the ship. Let's take risks where, like, okay, if this goes bad, you're going to have to spend like the weekend grading papers instead of trying to use this digital tool to speed things up. That's a great risk. Or a PBL project, but not like it's worth all of your grade. Let's focus on the small one where it's like a normal grade, or a choice board, something like that, a this or that option.
hmm.
Quick wins, quick risks, and let's get those wins and rinse and repeat so we can build up that stamina, that strength, and then really pair them up with a solid veteran teacher. I would say, I can't remember who yours was, but mine was amazing. And so I could always go to my veteran teacher and be like, hey, how would you deal with this? Like, I have no
Yeah.
idea what to do. Like, day one, I remember sixth period, right after lunch, kid comes in, climbs up on his desk, yells out as loud as he can, I'm the effing king of the world. What? I've heard stories about that. I never thought that would be me. Like, this kid doesn't even know me. He hasn't even given me a chance, made a beeline to the desk. I just shook his hand. Like, what is this kid's deal? Right. And so I had to learn quickly. Like, what do you do? This kid had done his research. I got hired 6 days before school. There was no teacher. Then they got this, and then somehow people figured out before I'd even gone there that I was a new teacher. And so he's like, I'm going to make this new teacher's life hell. And we spent the rest of that first year dealing with that kiddo and, you know, trying to get through to him. And, you know, I think I missed the mark. Give myself some grace. It was my first year. But I certainly tried. That's for sure. And I could have done worse.
Yeah. No, Scott, I think what was nice about the school that, and by the way, for those that are listening, Scott and I, we taught in the same district. We taught in the
Yeah.
same at the same school, which we can talk about in a bit if you want. But like, I think what was nice about being at our school, Scott, was while it was a big school, right? Like it wasn't small. There was a lot of talent, and still is a lot of
Yeah.
talent there. So like, if you're a first year
Yes.
teacher like we were, and you end up at a school like that, you do have a lot of good role models, and so and teachers teaching very differently too. So like
Mhm.
I remember getting like just the buffet of like that person clutch when it comes to like direct instruction in an AP class, and then going somewhere else and seeing more like PBL nature kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, so for those that are listening, so Scott and I taught at the same school on the other side of campus, right? Like, so
Yeah.
Scott taught English, I taught social studies, different buildings, and all the time, like kids would be like, "Hey, Mr. Nunes." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm not Mr. Nunes. What do you?" And I think the first time it happened, Scott and I had not met yet. I was like, "Who's this Mr. Nunes guy? And where is he?" Because apparently I look just like him. But Scott, you kind of got the same kind of treatment.
I got that too. Even when I go back home, now I'm living in Texas, no longer Modesto, California, and it's wild. I went to an event, and then somebody was like, "Hey, Mr. Martinez, do you still teach at Enoch's?" I'm Mr. Nunes. I'm not Mr. Martinez, but Mr. Martinez is a good guy. And it happened more. My beard used to be jet black, and Steve and I had not the same, but similar haircuts, similar beard. We both had red in our beard, and he's still blessed. He's still keeping his black and reddish beard. Like if the sun hits it, it's pretty cool. Mine has turned gray, unfortunately. Or
Steve, do you have his
fortunately.
picture from the social thing? Pull that up for those who are watching. They can see.
Oh, let me.
Oh wow.
We will
Because
get.
it was.
Hold on, I do have to find it really quick.
I do say, Scott, do you still have on your X account this picture he's about to show you? Because if so, it's time for an update.
Probably. I don't think I've changed my X picture since I really started that account in 2018.
Here we
I
go.
changed it. I've updated my LinkedIn. Okay, yeah, that's ISTE 2018 right there. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one right there.
It's a little catfishy.
No, just the wisdom. The wisdom is represented in the gray, and the years are represented in the length of the beard.
the
So,
length. Yes.
yeah, I've grown since that time, and I miss home so much. For this reason, Steve, I cannot find a good barber out here in Texas. I'm sorry. Cali has the best barbers. It's not like we're in a great area per se, but the barbers kick butt. Like we went to the same one for a while. I went to a different one before that. Just wow, they were amazing. And I pay a lot out here and I get less than half the quality. I've stopped letting them touch my beard because they butcher it.
So Scott, like in Modesto in particular, like because back in the day, like we had a barbershop like downtown and it was like the only one. But now there's I feel like there's like 30 of them now. And because we have we have a Paul Mitchell school, like it's right on McHenry, and they keep on pumping out more and more talent. And I mean, if you're ever in Modesto's not pretty place, not all of it. We can do a haircut and we can do a really good burrito.
Yeah. And street tacos. Tacos in Cali, just any taco truck in California, hands down, is going to be like the creme de la creme of tacos in Texas. Just saying. Saying. Sorry, Texans.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I always heard that, like, I honestly, that's interesting. You're gonna have better tacos in California than you do in Texas. I think that's a fascinating fact.
Well,
and I will also say that Steve's hair, when he does go to the barber, it always is, because he sends me pictures. It is always amazing. Like it is. Real clean, and sometimes he gets a little like shape in his hair. It's always
I've done it. I've done a design. And so Scott, I don't know if you saw this online. I was a contestant recently on The Price is Right. And
I thought that was fake. I didn't know that.
No, it was real, man. No, I when it was actually happening, I thought it was fake too. So Scott, what happened was my mom, myself, and my brother, for our birthday, because for those that are listening, my brother and I were 4 years apart, born on the exact same day. My mom has crazy timing. I don't even know how, whatever. But we drove down so you can get free tickets for The Price is Right. And the whole time I was like, okay, like I'm gonna go watch. Like the chances of you getting picked are like super small. You do audition, like there's like an audition of sort that you do to go on to get picked. Like that's how some of these game shows operate. And whatever energy I threw out, it did something because they picked my name. I was like, what the heck? No way. So I run down there, been watching Price is Right as a sick kid since I was like, super small. I'm like, this is wild. I got to meet Drew and stuff. And so, but the real point of the story is I was going to do a design on my head. I was gonna do a big old dollar sign. But I'm like, a dollar sign, that seems too like it's not clear enough now, like Price is Right. I ended up not doing it, which I'm glad, because I don't know if I would want like something like that if I because I'm gonna be on TV. I don't know when the episode's gonna drop. But yeah, so going back to it, if you're ever in California, get a haircut, get a taco, probably a burrito. It'll probably cost too much, but it'll be of quality. So Sophie, next time you're in California, Sophie, have you ever been to California?
I have.
Oh, okay,
Once.
I didn't know that. Like,
Yeah.
like how long ago are we talking?
Elementary school. So
Okay.
Okay.
You gotta go again.
Time.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite comedians are going to be out there. I sent you that. But
I saw
they're
that.
also just going to be in Pittsburgh, so maybe I'll just go there instead.
Oh, in the Bay, like that Pittsburgh in California.
I think that.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
no. So that because we were talking about California, those are two different. So there's a Pittsburgh in California. There is.
Oh yeah, didn't know that at all.
It's not as cool as the other one.
No. You'll be okay if you never go there.
Well, I mean, if you're anything like me, you'll be okay if you don't go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania either, because it's just driving around there. That one day that we went to see my comedians before, we couldn't figure out how to do drive anywhere. So that's the other reason why I probably don't want to go to California. Like Steve's like driving in like four lanes, and I'm like, we barely have painted like our roads are really painted. Like I live in very rural West Virginia, so I don't like going to anything.
Well, and then the state's just, I love my state. Don't get me wrong, but like, just getting anywhere takes forever. Like Scott, like you remember, like if you go to the beach, you're in the car for 3 hours.
Easy.
Yeah. And
from where we were.
Yeah. Because so from Modesto, like I don't know if you're either a Santa Cruz person or like a Monterey person.
Yeah,
or maybe
I was a Monterey guy.
See, me
doing
too.
A little extra.
No, the Monterey, the Dennis the Menace Park, right? Hitting the war, like Cannery Row, all of that. But yeah, it takes like 3 hours if traffic's bad, 3.5 hours to get there.
See, the reason why it takes you so long to get places is because of traffic. That's what I'm hearing. The reason why it takes me forever to get places is because of literal mountains.
Yeah, no, definitely. So Scott, do you still have? Because I know that you were running your podcast for a while. Is that something that is still active? And if it's not,
it's not. But
okay,
bringing it back. And so I had a baby this year, and I thought, when I'm on paternity leave, like that's when I'm going to relaunch it. And so I started lining up some things, and that is not the time to launch a podcast. So it's coming, and this is going to be part of the push that I need. So definitely check out Education Today with Scott Nunes. Maybe I can have Steve and Sophie on as guests. I know they would be amazing, but something I need. So the side hustle really empowers the rest of the work I do. I just like to be differentiated. I need a creative space that's all my own. I know some people get it, some people don't, but I need something that is authentically me that I'm sharing. I don't want to be just a consumer. I want to be a content creator, not for like anything big. I don't think I'm going to make tons of money doing anything like that, but just part
Mhm.
of being my authentic self is sharing what I've learned and trying to help people. If I can create shortcuts to knowledge and I forget what that term's called, but I'm not gatekeeping, right? I don't want to gatekeep my
Mm.
knowledge. I want to just share it out there to help people hit the ground running and to quickly learn things.
Yeah. And I've talked about this on this show before, but like it's therapy for me personally.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
it I get to talk about the things that I love to talk about within our field, but it's not at work. I, when you work for an ed tech company, there are certain procedures, expectations. Like you have to, and the show, it's a fun little, like a podcast is a fun little place where you get to just low key, just build it however you want. Um, if you want to do it with your best friend, you can, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what happened here, right? And yeah, I don't know. And maybe Sophie doesn't feel that way. She's like, Steve, you made me do this thing.
Definitely didn't. You don't make me do anything, but and neither does anybody else in my life. But yeah, so I love the podcast. I do. I feel like I've been able to get really creative and to do things the way I want to do them, with a little bit of Steve being like, maybe change it a little this way, and I'm like, oh, okay, good idea, and I do it. But yeah, I having that space that is like really yours. And I thought I was gonna have that with like sort of what your side hustle is. I thought that was gonna be my side hustle before I went out into EdTech. And I went out into EdTech instead. So I have like this level up with Sophie stuff, and I had a logo, which ironically is really similar to Steve's Under the Hat podcast logo, with like the blue and the arrow and the like. He went off and designed all of his stuff on his own, and mine was designed years before, and it is very similar.
That's
The two
wild.
colors, right? And then like just meeting Steve and listening to his podcast, I was putting in input and chatting on the Instagram and the X anyways, and it just was a natural place for me to come in here. But I do have a question about for you, Scott, because you were talking about sharing your knowledge to not gatekeep it. One of the things that I struggle with, and I wonder if you do as well, is how do you know when one of your ideas is a good or a new idea to share and spread,
Mm,
or compared to it's already known type of thing?
that's a great point. You could do research and see before you post it, but I take the Gary V approach and just share it out there. Whenever I've held it back, that's when I regret things the most. And one of my regrets goes way back to high school biology class. Mr. Calvin, all the way at Modesto City Schools, great guy, taught at Grace Davis High School, where I attended. And
Hmm.
I was trying to do my side hustle of being a web and graphic designer, trying to do sites for different teachers. And so he was talking to me about that. And I was like, two things I came up with that I didn't pursue. One was smart board equivalents. I'm like, how cool would it be if we could just show things and then like pause it and do our different like science diagrams right on a digital board and then save it. So we have it forever. If somebody misses the notes, it's there. And then the other thing was Canva, because I was doing design. I'm like, I'm great at conceptualizing things, but this whole coding aspect, oh, it takes me hours to code a
Hmm.
website. Can I just like drag and drop stuff? And then here I am, full circle, years later, working for this company that does that very thing. Um, I've had different ideas like that too. I say just throw it out there, and then people will let you know. They'll respond, like, "Oh, that's already been out," and so you fall flat sometimes. That's okay. You just have to be willing to do that, or sometimes it's a really great idea that gained some traction. I know there were quite a few of those during the pandemic that I shared on in terms of like leadership or ways to apply technology that really helped me build a name in the space. And so be authentically you, and get it out there.
Yeah. I will say that, you know, when I started this show, it was fine. But Sophie came in and fixed the look of the show. So if you ever look at my show and be like, oh, it looks cuter than it did a year ago, I'm like, yeah, that's Sophie. But wanna
scrolling through the Instagram page, I was like, it was really dark and like menacing, and then it gets all light. That's me.
it's like our personalities, right? I think that's part of it. But for those that are watching that are curious, since you know Scott is going to be doing bringing it back, there is Education Today.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at that brand. Look at that brand. And so
you might have to trim the beard.
I would. It's time, but I have to find the right barber. And so seriously, I do. It's been part of my thing because whenever I go anywhere, I have that logo on a sticker. People know me from that, and that's how they find me. It's like, oh, it's the bearded guy with the hard part. But I also need the razor fade. People out here in Texas, they don't do a good razor fade. They just don't. I've been everywhere. I've been in the Midwest, Kansas City, hit up a bunch of barbers there. Wherever I travel, I'm trying to find barbers. I kid you not. That's like one of the things I do. And nope, just not happening in this area. Like, I will pay the big bucks because I already do. I pay twice what I was paying back home. And so
wow,
I'm coming with money, y'all. Just cut my hair right.
I feel like I should go to barber school really quick and then just get really good at it and move to Texas. Like,
yeah. If flights were cheaper, I would take the time to go see my old barber. Shout out to Tony Cato.
Wow. Tony.
Like, yeah.
Tony, you go to Tony? Oh,
yeah. Man. Tony's the man.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good segue. Like, because we're talking about like stickers, Scott. We're talking about like your brand. Let me do a screen share here. So we're kind of pulling up. Roll? I don't know. Sophie, do you want to do it or do you want me to do it?
You do it.
Okay.
I'm so excited. It was sort of appropriate for you, Scott, a person who works for Canva, to come on the day that we launch things that I have designed in Canva.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, go.
Well, if you're looking at it, it's already been spoiled. But on our website, underhatpod.com, now at the very top there, we now have a store. So when you click on this, and by the way, I can't take any credit for this because Sophie has done an amazing job of setting all this up, kind of figuring out which products, right? Like what should it look like? How is it? Of course, we have hats, and so I'm on the fence. For me personally, the white hat or the black hat, only because I know the white hat will get dirty. Like,
yeah,
I might get a taco stain on it. I don't know.
You're getting both. I'm getting you both. But you could put the white hat like on a shelf.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I like that.
So we have.
But yes.
So this is like a laptop sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got. Is Stanley the right term, or it's?
No, it's a tumbler. It is not.
But
it's
good.
Stanley.
It's good. It's good.
It's good.
We got sticker here, and so Scott. So something I think we're gonna do. You being from the area, you know what Spring Q is like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to sign up for the sticker swap.
You got to.
Yeah, do the sticker swap. Hey, let me click on the shirt here. So good. So this is live, friends, for anyone watching, listening. I'll be doing social posts on this as well. The coffee mug,
And if there's anything that you want, we have a huge variety of products that we can do. It's just picking which product we want to use and then creating the design around our brand. I'm super excited for the mouse pad because I just like refinished my desk, and that part where my mouse is always is getting a little scuffed up. So I'm super excited for the mouse pad to come in. I ordered samples of everything, so I'm sure we're gonna have um, content around all of the samples that I get. So far I have the sticker and I don't know where to put it. I haven't put it anywhere yet.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited to. I ordered one of everything, so you'll know from me how everything feels, and if it doesn't feel right, we'll change the product and fix it.
Sure.
But yes, I'm super excited for this to grow and to hear what people want to have, and excited to see things that we have made out in the real world. So I see Erica and Eliza are checking us out over on the Instagram. Go check out the store. We have merch.
We do.
And you get the first edition merch.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to get it now.
So yes, and I'm going to drop this in a few different chats here.
So the hat is actually the ones that we have in there right now are sewn. What's that called?
Embroidered.
Yes, they're embroidered.
Nice.
They're embroidered
That's cool.
flat bills. So Steve wanted the flat bill, so I got the flat bill. They don't do the newsboy hat that he has right now on, or we would have totally done that. But I'm going to dive into the other baseball hat type stuff as well, so they can have a variety of options depending on your style.
Like
yeah. So Scott, if you're not buying a haircut,
get a hat.
There you go. I'm gonna hide it under a hat. No, I like both of those. Are they fitted or are they snapbacks? I prefer the snapback.
I believe
it's
snapback.
Yes.
Here,
there you go.
Perfect.
Snapbacks.
Yep.
Yes,
boom,
they are
boom.
flat bill snapback.
Love it.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And I'm with Steve. I could wear the white one like once. And
yeah.
It's gonna be done. But it looks great. I'm clumsy. I'm gonna mess it up.
I'm thinking about making a blue one.
Yes.
So then we have like more variety because our colors are like white, black, blue, tan.
Yeah. I'd get a blue and black.
Think about making a blue one and a blue shirt.
And pins. I would get a pin. Your logo would look great on a white pin. So
see all the
when
advice
you're doing
from
round
Scott Nunes.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm really looking forward to is, so you both know for so long I was a huge supporter of my Edtech life.
Yes.
And well before this show. So I was always rolling with Fonz's hat. And all the time, like in the airport, at a restaurant, whatever, be like, is that your podcast? And I'm like, sadly, no. So I am kind of excited to be repping my own show and doing that. Not to say that I still wear my Edtech life stuff, because Fonz's stuff is really cool. And actually, Sophie and I were just talking about like how much stuff he has now in his store.
Like 3 different branding versions and so many different options. Like I'm like, holy cow, look at everything that he has available.
Now he's a hustler.
He's
talking about a side hustle. Yeah. No, certainly. All right, friends. So we do have the question at the very end, but before I do that, while I have the screen share here, just a little bit of context of what's coming up next weekend. We have 2 episodes dropping next weekend. Let me make sure I click on the right one here. So we definitely are going to have Steph and Joe on the go.
Wow.
This is a fairly new show. Stephanie Howe and Joe Marquez. I've been wanting to have Joe Marquez on the show for a while now. And so I'm excited to hear what Joe's up to. He's in a very new role. And actually I connected with him fairly recently. He's doing phenomenal work. Stephanie, she does work at Cami. She works where Sophie and I work, but she's another side hustle. Like, she's doing a lot of good work. Stephanie has been on the show before, but this one will be a pre-record because apparently Joe only records at weird hours. But we're gonna this will drop sometime next weekend. And Scott, we have someone from Modesto City coming on next weekend. I don't know if this is the name you're familiar with. Sean Hurtado. Do you know Sean?
I've heard of him, but I've never met him.
Okay. I believe he's the principal at La Loma. So at one of our junior highs in my former district. And his take on leadership is crazy cool. I'm not going to spoil anything. But like the way that he leads, doing the university observation work. I've been on his campus under his leadership, and it is a vibe. It is an energy. Like this man was made to be a leader at a junior high.
Wow.
So super pumped to have him. He definitely has a different take on how he's supporting his teachers, his staff, and his students. So that's what we're doing next weekend. Super excited to have him. But Scott, we always end the show with that one question, and we're doing things in a slightly different order here, but that's okay. What are you going to do? Fire me? I don't know. And so I'm going to go ahead and put this up. Scott, like, with what you're seeing right now, man, and you can say AI. I'm not saying you can't, but everyone says AI. But it's like every person. I get excited when someone does not, but there's a lot to be said about AI, though. So like right now, like, like right now, what is top of mind for you? What is something we should be talking about right now in education?
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to something that I mentioned earlier on the show, because I didn't get to add a caveat to it that I really want to add. It does have to do with AI, or AI kind of falls under it. And it's just that we're really doing a disservice right now to those we serve. One of the ways we're doing that is by not offering more options and allowing individual preferences, the way students want to learn, when they learn. I really saw students blossom and fail at the same time when I helped with the virtual school. So some kids really took off and thrived. I was like, wow, this is so amazing. But at the same time, it wasn't a great fit for everybody to do school virtually. Some did horribly, and some that had done well previously. And so education can no longer be a one size fits all. And it really takes all of us, our individual skills, our different proclivities for learning, for teaching. Steve, you and I, for example, we hit it off. Obviously, we're still friends after all these years, and we communicated, collaborated a ton over the years. And the way you do PBL is different than the way I did PBL. We both had a summative PBL project that rocked, but the way we did it was differently. And that benefited our community and our students so much. I learned early on, you mentioned having some great teachers. I think of Chris Hayden. He was up for Teacher of the Year, went all the way to the state level and got beat out. He got like runner-up or something. I was like, Chris is amazing. I want to be like Chris. And then I stopped. I said, hey, I'm not Chris. Chris is the grammar king. That's never going to be me. It could be if I want to work on it and do all the things he did, like read and practice and study and get this degree and that degree and this specialization. that's not me. My strength really is in technology. And so let me focus on AI. Let me talk about cybersecurity. I was ISTE AI certified in 2019, right before the pandemic. And so that is a passion. And we can't just duck and cover. We need to talk about choices, options, how we're going to use these tools, if we're going to use them, when to roll them out. And this is a great time for leaders to really rally around those they serve, take their input, and then be amazing like Sean, right? Be your own Sean. Don't be Sean. Don't be Dave Burgess and teach like a pirate. I think so highly of Dave. Be you and lead that way, and borrow, beg, and steal as much as you can from the education community in a way that makes sense to you, and you're going to be phenomenal. Lead right where you are.
So what you're talking about is resonating with me, because it's a conversation I have with my student teachers on the regular, because often what they hear is they're like, oh, whoever your mentor teacher is, just do exactly that to start out with. But there could be problems with that, right?
Yeah.
And so what I kind of tell them was like, you can mimic certain things, but at the end of the day, you're still you. So figure out, take the things that you like, but still make the kids feel like you're not just a robot reciting the same script that maybe someone else is reciting, right? And so like, yeah, I just love every bit of that, and like also the personalization of it, right? Like giving everybody those choices and options to flex how really what makes them shine the most, and yeah, so that's so good. Well, Scott, thanks for being here, man. I always appreciate our conversations. It normally takes place at a coffee shop, but this is still good. And so good luck on the show, man. And like if you do get things off the ground again, which I know that you will, Sophie and I are both here and willing to jump on and have a conversation. So
you already know you're on the list. So Sophie, I didn't even ask you formally, but I'm just hoping it's a yes. So get ready for the formal invite.
Of course, yes. I love going on other people's podcasts and chatting about what I'm passionate about.
Yes.
I do want to highlight Erica. Erica's over on Instagram. She said, "Be you. Everyone else is taken."
Amen to that, Erica. Yes.
That's crazy good.
Crazy good.
Yeah, love that. Awesome.
Love you, girl.
All right, friends. We're completely out of time. You all enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your day. I have to go right now. I have so much things to do. It's crazy. I know, Scott, Sophie, you're probably in the same boat. But until next time, friends, keep your hats on, but your minds open. Bye-bye.